alternatives in order to implement the information system. Normally, the SDLC approach that we are talking is sometimes called insourcing, meaning an organization team developed the system internally. There are other approaches for developing information systems, such as self-sourcing as well as outsourcing. So let's look at each of them in more detail. Because maybe sometimes the IT team is overwhelmed with a lot of kind of a system implementation, and they are very busy running different different information systems. The team, the end users, they don't have a person that can help them develop a system. So the end user develop an information system with sometimes less or no formal assistance from their IS team. They sometimes use the off-the-shelf software to produce custom-built application. This can help reduce the backlog in producing the information system. Also, it improves flexibility in responding to users' information need, because the systems are changing very rapidly and the technology is changing very rapidly. So a lot of users now becoming more informed about the new technologies, and they can get trainings, and they can actually develop their own systems. Self-sourcing, though, has a lot of disadvantages. One of them could be possible misuse of computer resources, also lack of access to crucial data, as well as lack of documentation and inadequate security for application and system developed by the end users, because they don't have enough knowledge of IT, or they don't know any methodologies, or maybe they don't even see the security issues that could be implemented in the information system that they're just taking out of off shelf and something out of the box. Also, application developed may not be up to the IS standards as well, and lack of support from top management, as well as lack of training for prospective users. And if you don't have documentation, then this system cannot be reused maybe sometimes. As we said, self-sourcing give end user the power to build their own application in a short time and be able to modify their own data. This power can be sometimes destructive. So if the organization doesn't apply control and security, it could actually hurt the organization. To prevent these type of basically damage to the organization, or maybe to the data of the organization, maybe the companies should develop a guideline for the end users. You also need to develop criteria for evaluating, approving, or rejecting, and basically prioritizing projects that should be established. Data administration should also be enforced to ensure integrity and reliability of the information. Creating private data should be minimized, if not eliminated. Sometimes, for the sake of efficient data processing, redundant data can exist. However, it needs to be also monitored very closely. As well as one of the best approach to control the invalid data is basically to making sure that the database administrator is actually controlling the data, and making sure that the users have a guideline to follow as well. Another approach in system development, which is becoming very famous nowadays, is called outsourcing. Basically, a company can hire an external vendor or consultant who specializes in providing development services. Some companies that are offering outsourcing services, it could include IBM Global Services, Accenture, Information System Technology, as well as Computer Science Corporation. With the development of Web 2, though, another form of outsourcing is becoming popular, crowdsourcing. This refers to the process of outsourcing tasks that are traditionally performed by an employee or maybe contractor. So they would contract it to a large group of people, or maybe a crowd, through an open call. Say your town city hall is developing a website in order to better serve the community. Using crowdsourcing, they could invite everybody to participate in the design process. Crowdsourcing has becoming more popular with the publishers, journalists, editors, and businesses that want to take advantage of this collaborative capabilities that is being offered with Web 2. Innocentive is a company that is very active in the field of crowdsourcing as well. There are different types of outsourcing, though, that the company can employ. One of them is called onshore outsourcing. The company chooses an outsourcing company which is in the same country. The other one is nearshore outsourcing, which the company can choose an outsourcing company in a neighboring countries, such as when U.S. Company can choose a company in Canada or Mexico. Offshore outsourcing is the company that chooses an outsourcing company in any part of the world, maybe China and India. That could be an example of offshoring. There are some advantages as well as disadvantages in using the outsourcing approach. Some of the advantages could be that the system that is being developed is maybe less expensive. It can be quickly developed because you can get a large resource of people from all around the world. Help organization concentrate on core functions and other projects and then outsource the rest. Some of the disadvantages is basically loss of control. Relying on the outsourcing company to control the information system function can also result in the system that's not fully meeting the organization objectives and requirements. Also, dependencies. If the organization becomes too dependent on the outsourcing company, changes in the outsourcing company's financial status could actually impact the organization, as well as vulnerability of strategic information. Because a third party is involving in the outsourcing, the risk of leaking confidential information to the competitors could also increase as well. Now let's look at phase 5, which is maintenance. During the maintenance phase, the information system is operating. Enhancement and modification to the system have been developed and tested, and hardware and software components have also been added or replaced. The maintenance team also making sure of how the system is working, and also they are taking into a step to keep the system up and running. The team also collects performance data and gather information on whether the system is meeting its objective by talking to the users, customers, and as well as other people. If the system objectives are not being met, the team can take corrective action. Creating a help desk to support users is another important task in this phase as well. From the beginning, we said that SDLC is one of the methods for implementing the information system. There are new trends in the field of system analysis and design, and we are going to look at some of the other methods other than SDLC. So SDLC model may be inappropriate if there is a lack of a specification, if there is input-output process cannot be identified completely, and also if there is a problem is ad hoc. Also, if the users need change constantly, maybe this is not an appropriate method to use. As we said, for these situations, the other approaches can be suitable. Let's look at service-oriented architecture. Service-oriented architecture is a philosophy and a software and a system development methodology that focuses on development, use, and reuse of a small self-contained blocks of codes, which is called services, to meet the software need of an organization. SOA attempts to solve software development issues by recognizing, accepting, and leveraging the existing services. Checking shipping status, customer's credit, or inventory status are just some of the examples of these services. The fundamental principle beyond the SOA is that the blocks of code can be reused in a variety of different applications. Allowing new business processes to be created from a pool of existing services. In any business organization, there are things that don't change very often, such as order processing system. These are often represent a major part of business, which is we call it core business functions. At the same time, there are functions that can change on regular basis, such as taxes and content of marketing campaign. SOA advocates that core business function and the dynamic functions that changes all the time should be decoupled. SOA also allow companies to pick and choose those services and respond most effectively to the customer's need and market demands. SOA has potential benefits to organization, which could include reduced application development time, greater flexibility, and an improved return on investment. One of the examples we can think about is Starwood Hotel and Resort worldwide that are replacing their legacy room reservation system with SOA-based system. By using this SOA-based system, they can offer as many as 150 service-based applications built on a web standards.